"We don't serve beggars here." The server yanked the plate away from the elderly man. Customers laughed and took photos. No one knew that this old man's grandson was a general at the Pentagon. And when that phone call went through, everything was about to change. Walter Thompson's story was one of those moments when people judge by appearances and live to regret it. At 84 years old, living in Louisville, Kentucky, he was a retired teacher whose jacket sleeves were frayed and shoes worn thin, but nobody knew he had spent 42 years working in the Jefferson County school system, educating thousands of students. Nobody cared to ask how his life had fallen apart after losing his wife Martha to cancer. It was a cold December Monday morning. Walter had gone to the bank to collect his Social Security payment. The system had crashed, and his money was 4 days late. He had only $8.50 in his pocket. For the past 3 days, he'd been surviving on peanut butter sandwiches and instant coffee. Walking past Mason's family diner, the smell of warm meatloaf hit his nose. Inside was crowded with families laughing and talking. Walter hesitantly stepped through the door. "How many in your party?" asked the young server, Ashley, her voice carrying obvious reluctance. She'd already sized up Walter's tattered coat and wrinkled her nose in disgust. Could I maybe get something small?" Walter said in a trembling voice. "Whatever's cheapest on the menu." Ashley turned around and looked at manager Rick Patterson. Rick was 38, known for his arrogance and social media presence, marketing the restaurant as a high-end dining experience. "Hey, buddy," Rick said loudly, making sure all the customers could hear. "This isn't Denny's. If you want charity, try the Salvation Army." Conversation stopped throughout the restaurant. iPhones came out. No one intervened. They all just recorded for TikTok content. Walter's face flushed red. "I'm not charity. I'm a retired teacher. I work for Jefferson County. I don't give a damn what you did," Rick interrupted. "We don't serve anyone here without money. Ashley, escort this man outside." Ashley took the plate from Walter's hands. Inside was half a grilled cheese sandwich that Walter had bought with his last $6. "I'm sorry, sir," she said with a sad voice. "Manager's orders." Customers started whispering. Some opened their phone cameras. A college girl added to her Instagram story, "Old homeless guy getting kicked out, LMAOO." Walter stood up, his hands shaking. His eyes filled with tears, but he didn't cry. For 42 years, he had educated children, teaching them respect and kindness. Now he was experiencing disrespect firsthand. "I understand," he said quietly. He pulled out his worn wallet and removed a faded photograph. It showed a young man in army dress uniform. "This is my grandson, Michael. He's serving in Afghanistan. I wish he could see how you treat your elders." Rick didn't even glance at the photo. Save the sob story for someone who cares. "Ashley, call security." Walter put the photo back and headed toward the exit. Behind him came laughter, whispers, and phone cameras. No one helped him. Outside, the freezing wind hit his face. He pulled out his cracked iPhone and dialed with difficulty. The contact read, "Michael, grandson." "Hello, Michael? It's Grandpa Walter. I'm sorry to bother you, but something happened today, and..." What Walter didn't know was that this phone call would bring black military vehicles to that diner's parking lot in just 52 minutes. Michael Thompson wasn't just a soldier. He was Strategic Operations Director at the Pentagon, a 2-star general, and he had just heard about his grandfather's humiliation. "Colonel Martinez," he said into his secure phone, "emergency situation. My grandfather was humiliated at a diner in Louisville. Please dispatch the nearest unit immediately." "Roger that, General Thompson. ETA 18 minutes. What Michael didn't know was that Colonel Martinez knew Walter Thompson. Martinez had been Walter's student 28 years ago. Back then, he was a troubled kid, and Walter had set him on the straight path. "All units ready," Martinez said into his radio. "Mr. Walter Thompson has been disrespected. This is personal." At the diner, Rick Patterson was joking with customers. "Did you see that old geezer? Acting like we owe him something?" Ashley felt uncomfortable. "Rick, maybe we were too harsh. He just wanted food. Show weakness once and more like him will come," Rick said. "Customers need to feel safe from riffraff." Just then, engine sounds began coming from outside. First one, then a second, a third. Rick looked out the window and froze. 8 black military SUVs were parking in front of the diner. Uniformed soldiers stepped out of the vehicles. 2 of them wore general insignia. Dead silence fell over the diner. Customers looked at each other. Phone cameras opened for a different reason this time. There was a knock at the door. Ashley opened it with trembling hands. General Michael Thompson and Colonel Martinez were looking for Mr. Walter Thompson. Rick's face drained of color. He left already. We know, General Thompson said in a calm but stern voice. My grandfather told me exactly what happened here. Who's the manager? I'm the manager. Rick Patterson. Look, you just humiliated an 84-year-old retired teacher, Colonel Martinez said. His voice carried familiar warmth. Mr. Walter Thompson was my teacher. He taught me more than algebra. He taught me humanity. No one in the diner was breathing. General Thompson continued. My grandfather spent 42 years educating this community's children. Managers like you, servers like her, customers like them. Treating him this way is treating your own foundation with contempt. Rick tried to say something, but Colonel Martinez raised his hand. Mr. Thompson left here crying. An 84-year-old man, in his own community, rejected by his own people. The military convoy waited outside. Customers hung their heads in shame. Now, General Thompson said, we know where grandfather lives. But first, we're fixing something here. Colonel Martinez pulled out his phone. Captain Rodriguez? Yes, sir. Send inspection teams to Mason's Family Diner. Health Department, Labor Department, tax audit, everything. Rick's face fell. General Thompson looked at the customers. Today, you remained silent while an elder was degraded. That reflects your character. But know this. America stands because of people like Walter Thompson. Walter Thompson's voice came from outside. Soldiers had respectfully escorted him inside. Michael? Walter said in amazement. What are you doing here? General Thompson embraced his grandfather. Nobody disrespects you, Grandpa. You're my hero. Walter's eyes welled up with tears of joy. Colonel Martinez approached Walter. Mr. Thompson, do you remember me? Carlos Martinez, your student 28 years ago. Walter's face lit up. Of course, little Carlos. You became a colonel because of you, sir. Rick stood in the corner, not knowing what to do. Ashley was crying. General Thompson turned to Rick. This establishment will provide Mr. Walter Thompson complimentary meals for life, and all staff will receive mandatory training on treating elders and veterans with dignity. Rick nodded. Yes, General. Also, Colonel Martinez said, Mr. Thompson... Walter protested. That's not necessary, boys. I just educated children for 42 years, General Thompson said. Just shaped generations. Just made us human. Customers listened to these conversations. Some left their tables in shame. Others came up to Walter and apologized. A mother whispered to her son, This is why you always respect elders. Always. Ashley courageously stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, I'm deeply sorry. I was afraid of losing my job. Walter placed his hand on Ashley's shoulder. I understand, dear. You were just following orders. But remember, everyone has a story. Everyone faces hard times. Colonel Martinez looked at the restaurant manager. Mr. Patterson, have you learned anything today? Rick cleared his throat. Yes, sir, a great deal. I hope so. This video has gone viral. Corporate will be calling. Rick's phone started ringing. The caller ID read, Corporate Headquarters. General Thompson turned to his grandfather. Grandpa, tonight there's a dinner at the Pentagon. Veterans Honor Night. Will you join me? Walter smiled. What would I wear, Michael? I'm just an old teacher. You're not just an old teacher, Grandpa. You're more important than anyone I've ever met. The soldiers respectfully saluted Walter. Colonel Martinez placed his hand over his heart. Mr. Thompson, this nation owes you gratitude. Walter humbly bowed his head. I just did my duty. Exactly, General Thompson said, smiling. That's what real heroes always say. From that day forward, Mason's family diner was transformed. Walter Thompson's photograph hung on the most prominent wall. Below it, words greeted every entering customer. Teachers are heroes. Respect costs nothing. Walter visited the diner weekly, sitting at his special reserved table. Rick personally served him. Ashley had been promoted to assistant manager and gave respect training to the staff. But most importantly, because of that viral video, millions of people began treating the elderly and teachers with more respect. Because sometimes, just one phone call is enough to change everything. And sometimes, the person you disrespect might be related to someone who can move mountains. Walter Thompson's story reminds us, everyone deserves respect, regardless of age, appearance, or financial status. Because behind every unknown story, sometimes there are generals waiting.